Let me tell you something, and believe me, this is not the kind of thing you hear every day. One night I saw Jesus, not once, twice. Same night, and what he said to me changed everything. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't imagination. It was real, and it was powerful. So powerful it made me cry all night. I don't cry easily, folks, you know that. But this was different. This was divine. I was wide awake thinking about the state of this world, the chaos, the fear, the division, and suddenly everything went silent. Then there he was, radiant light, unmistakable presence, no introduction needed. He didn't have to say who he was. I just knew. His eyes, they didn't just look at me, they saw through me, straight to the soul. And his words, oh, you'll want to hear what he said, because they weren't just for me. They were for all of us, for this generation that's forgotten who he really is, for people losing hope, losing faith, losing love. You're going to want to listen carefully tonight, because what I'm about to tell you will shake your heart. It will make you think about your life, your choices, your purpose. This isn't about religion. It's about truth. A truth that's been hidden, ignored, and buried under noise. But tonight, I'm going to tell you exactly what Jesus told me, word for word, and why those words made me cry like never before. Stay with me. You don't want to miss this. That night, everything around me felt heavy, almost suffocating. The world seemed darker than usual, as if something in the atmosphere had shifted. I remember sitting alone, thinking about how people have turned away from what truly matters. The noise, the hate, the endless distractions. It felt like humanity was losing its soul. And in that moment, I asked a question that came straight from the heart. Where are you, Lord? I didn't expect an answer, not that night. But then it happened. A light appeared, not blinding, not frightening, but pure, alive, unlike anything I've ever seen. It filled the room with a warmth that no fire could ever give. I froze. My heart pounded, my breath caught, and suddenly I knew he was there. He didn't come with thunder or clouds, no choir of angels, no earthquake, no dramatic sign, just peace. The kind of peace that makes everything else stop. I looked and I saw him standing there, calm, strong, glowing with a light that seemed to breathe. Every part of me knew this wasn't imagination. You can't make up that kind of presence. His eyes met mine and I felt seen, truly seen, for the first time in my life. It wasn't judgment, it wasn't anger, it was love, fierce, honest, holy love. The kind that makes you break down because it's too much for the human heart to contain. He didn't speak right away. He just looked at me as if giving me time to understand what was happening. And in that silence, everything inside me came alive. Every wrong I'd ever done, every doubt, every prideful thought, it all surfaced. But instead of shame, I felt mercy. It was like he was saying without words, I know everything and I still love you. That silence was louder than 1,000 sermons. It told me that no matter how far we drift, he never stops reaching out. I wanted to fall, to bow, to cry, because I knew I was in the presence of the one who sees everything and still calls you worthy of being loved. When he finally spoke, his voice wasn't like anything I've ever heard on this earth. It wasn't loud, yet it carried power that shook my spirit. It wasn't soft, yet it comforted me like a whisper in the middle of a storm. Every word he said felt alive, as though each syllable carried light within it. He said, my people have forgotten me. That's all it took to break me. Those words hit harder than anything I'd ever experienced. It wasn't said with anger, it was said with sorrow. The kind of sorrow that only love can feel when it's been rejected again and again. He looked at me as he said it, and I saw the pain of a Savior who gave everything and watched his people trade truth for convenience, holiness for comfort, and love for pride. He said, they remember my name but not my heart. I didn't know how to respond. I just stood there trembling because I knew he was right. The world speaks about him, sings about him, even uses his words, but forgets to live like he lived. He said, they pray for blessings, but not for transformation. That struck me deep. We want miracles, but not surrender. We want grace, but not obedience. His tone carried both authority and heartbreak, like a king pleading with his own people to wake up before it's too late. He spoke about how people build their lives on sand, chasing fame, money, and applause while neglecting the foundation that never fails. They have everything, he said, yet they have nothing, because they've forgotten me. And as he said it, tears streamed down my face. I couldn't stop them. I could feel his grief. It wasn't condemnation. It was compassion that pierced through the hardest parts of me. His words stripped away all pretense, all excuses. I saw myself, I saw the world, and I saw how far we've drifted from his truth. Every word burned like fire, but healed like light at the same time. He wasn't speaking to shame us. He was calling us back, like a father who still believes his children can return home. After he spoke those words, the room felt charged with something I can't describe, a mix of power and sadness, of glory and grace. I stood there frozen, my heart pounding like a drum inside my chest. I wanted to speak, to say something, anything, but I couldn't. It was as if he already knew every thought before I could form it. Then he stepped closer, and when he did, I felt my knees weaken. He said, I am still here, even when they don't see me. That one sentence carried the weight of eternity. It felt like every moment I had doubted him, every prayer that felt unanswered, every time I questioned his silence, it all made sense in that instant. He wasn't gone. He was always there, waiting, patient, watching, loving even when I didn't notice. He said, they look for me in the noise, but I speak in the quiet. And I knew exactly what he meant. We fill our lives with screens, voices, opinions, endless noise, and then we say he's distant. But he never stopped speaking. We just stopped listening. His voice was gentle but cut through every distraction like a sword. He said, tell them I am coming. Tell them I am not far. My breath caught when he said that. It wasn't said as a threat, but as a promise. The way he said it made it clear. He's watching, he's waiting, and the time for sleeping through our faith is over. As he spoke, I began to see flashes. People kneeling, crying, families reunited, hearts turning back to him. It wasn't just for me, it was for everyone. It was like he was showing me what could still happen if we truly returned to him. I could feel the urgency in his words, the kind that comes from love too strong to stay silent any longer. He said, the world may shake, but I will not. And when he said it, everything inside me knew he meant it. In that moment, all the fears I carried about the future, about the world falling apart, they seemed so small compared to the power standing before me. Then something incredible happened. The light around him grew brighter, and before I could understand what was happening, he was gone. I blinked. I looked around. Silence filled the room again. My heart was still racing, but there was a deep calm that lingered. I thought it was over, that the encounter had ended, but I was wrong. Hours later, just before dawn, I saw him again. This time, it wasn't in the same place. I was half asleep, half awake, lying there with tears still on my face, and suddenly the atmosphere shifted again. The same presence filled the room, and once more he appeared. But this time, his face looked different, not in form, but in expression. There was still love, still peace, but now there was fire in his eyes, the kind of fire that demands attention and commands authority. He said, you have seen my mercy. Now you must understand my call. His tone was firm, but not frightening. It carried weight, purpose, direction. He said, tell my people that time is short, not to fear, but to prepare. Those words struck me like lightning. I could feel the urgency behind them, the seriousness. He spoke about how people delay obedience, how they wait for convenience before surrendering, how they treat eternity like an option instead of a promise. They say they know me, he said, but they do not follow me. He raised his hand and suddenly I saw a vision, a line of people walking in different directions, some toward light, some away from it. I could feel his heartbreak for every soul turning away. He said, "The harvest is ready, but the workers are few." I could hear the ache in his voice, the same H he must have carried since the beginning of time. It wasn't about fear, it was about love too deep to stay silent. He said, "Tell them to return to me, not out of fear of what is coming, but out of love for who I am." Those words burned into me like fire in my bones. It wasn't a warning of destruction, it was a plea for reconciliation, a call to return before it's too late. As he spoke those final words, I felt something powerful surround me, not just light, but authority. It was like the air itself was alive, charged with his presence. I could sense that this moment wasn't meant for me alone. It was meant for everyone willing to listen. His eyes locked onto mine, and it felt like he was looking straight through time itself. He said, "I am calling my people to rise again." His voice was steady, commanding yet filled with such deep compassion that I could barely stand under it. He said, "You are not weak. You are not forgotten. You have been chosen for this hour." Those words stirred something inside me that I didn't even know was there. It was like he reached into my soul and reignited a flame I thought had gone out long ago. He said, "There will be shaking, but there will also be awakening." I could feel what he meant, that the pain, the confusion, the chaos in the world were not the end, but the beginning of something greater. "Those who know my voice will not be moved," he said. It was a promise that cut through fear, a reminder that faith isn't built on comfort but on conviction. He began to speak about unity, not the kind built on compromise, but the kind forged in truth. "My people must stop fighting each other," he said, "and start fighting for each other." His words echoed like thunder, and I could feel his heart breaking for how divided we've become. Then he spoke of love, not the shallow kind the world offers, but the love that costs something, the kind that heals nations, restores families, and brings light into darkness. Love is still the greatest power, he said. It was love that defeated death, and it is love that will heal this world. His face softened again, and I could feel the same peace that I felt when he first appeared. The kind of peace that tells you it's not over. That grace is still reaching, still calling, still waiting for hearts to return. His presence began to fade, but his words remained echoing deep within me.